I hope this letter finds you well. As of this very moment, I am hunting, probably with my Gleep Glop Palico in secret. I will now show you some of the findings on the Pokémon Monsters in the wilds. From the Rompopolo to the Arkveld, I've got a veritable smorgasbord of monsters to Pokemonify. Man, smorgasbord kinda sounds like a monster's name now that I think about it. What monsters from the series would you like me to turn into Pokemon? Comment down below. And make sure to check out the previous video on this one where I did quite a few of the initial release monsters like Doshaguma and Balahara. But let's jump in with the apex of the Windward Plains, the Rey Dau. I imagine the apex is to be sort of treasure of ruin tier legendaries, so I kept all that ferocious feeling while adapting it to a Pokemon style. A lot smoother, but having those important details there, mainly in those railgun horns and the sort of blade wings as well. Rey Dau is so menacing to me. Like, you give me a Doshaguma, sure, I'll hunt that thing no problem. Balahara, little concerning, but I got this. Railgun Wyvern, absolutely not, I'm out of here. And that's not even the scariest thing on the plains. I reference a bit of Garchomp here for the design, especially the eyes. They just work so well for this type of creature. I'm imagining this in a Pokemon game as some sort of anti-Suicune deal where instead of running away on each route, it gets closer and closer instead. And this thing would just absolutely wreck you if you got too close. It's a bit like an alpha Pokemon in Legends Arceus. Except, you know, when you pull out a Master Ball and Rey Dau regrets ever stepping foot in your territory. Take that, everybody loves Rey Dau. Rey Dau, the railgun Pokemon, an electric and flying type. The apex of the plains, Rey Dau rules from above, striking down foes with bolts of electricity. The two horns on the side of their head can lock into place to increase the power of their blasts of lightning. The strength of it is enough to turn sand into glass, creating the distinct look of the plains. Rey Dau has a new ability called Rail Blast, where the first electric type special attack by this Pokemon deals double damage. This ability recharges only on switch in. Let's now go towards something less apex, but about 10% more horrifying. Well, for me anyway, and that's the Lala Barina. For people who don't like spiders, look away now. This thing is so menacing. I mean, all Temnocerans are, and just horrifying. But this one has something about it that's deeply unsettling, and I think it's the flowerish form. And that's kind of the inspo here, combined with that of a sort of Lurantis vibe of being a fake flower. The design here would probably be from a free stage Pokemon, starting as a little babby spider to a middle stage based probably on some kind of flamenco dancer or ballet dancer, into this giant thing. It's a very vertically oriented Pokemon, with most of it being flower and leggy, with a tiny babby body and head in the center. It makes it look a little uncanny and unsettling, in a good way mind you.
Impressive.
Much like the Lala Barina itself, the Pokemon would have a sort of hidden claw attack and ballet moves. 3 little spikes on the body would suddenly jut out and strike to paralyze you. And it just gets even scarier the more I talk about this thing. Honestly, I'm gonna have so much fun hunting this thing to get over my fear of it. I'ma squash you with my hammer. Balabara, the Rose Bloom Pokemon, a bug type. Balabara create giant nests of red silk that paralyze any who touch it, except their young. Trapped prey will watch the ballet-style movements of Balabara moments before their end. The rose-like bloom is used as camouflage, but is actually made of tufts of hair with paralyzing properties. It scatters these into the air during intense battles. Balabara have the abilities Intimidate and Static. We are in the Scarlet Forest right now, so let's continue on and hunt down that apex. I hear it really only shows up when it's raining, but there's not a cloud in the sky. Never mind. Well, at least we got to see the majestic Uth Duna, or a weird Leviathan, Arapaima looking creature. This is probably my least type monster so far. It just doesn't hit the same as the others. But hey, if its armor and weapons are cool, maybe that will change. For the Pokemon, I wanted to keep that main aspect of the flowing water veil. Well, water and bodily fluids veil, as it says here, so let's not dwell on that for too long. And have an Apex Pokemon that has a bit more of an understated body, leaning heavily into a more Komodo dragon shape for it. and have most of the focus be a very shimmery and beautiful water veil for it, which also isn't its ability, mind you. I changed it ever so slightly to make the ability similar but stronger to fit an Apex Pokemon. Colors for this one were a little tricky. The Uth Duna itself uses a lot of desaturated colors, oranges, purples, and blues all together, so I bumped up the saturation on it, and it works pretty well to sell that marketable toy-like look. Still a face only a mother could love though, Pug of the monster world right here. Uth Duna, the downpour Pokemon, are pure water type. The apex of their forest, Uth Duna are rarely seen unless there is a significant downpour. During this time, they swiftly move throughout and hunt with sharp claws and toothy maws. They create veils of water and bodily fluids which shimmer in the light. This helps protect their bodies and move quicker through the water. Uth Duna has a new ability called Aquatic Veil, which prevents status effect and fire type attacks while in rain. Next, we head to the Oil Well Basin, a real strange place with some pretty fearsome monsters, ready to tear us a new hunter hole. Let's take a look at probably the most normal of the three here, the Ajarakan.
Monkey.
I wasn't exactly sold on this one at first. It was just like a Rajang but rocky, but kind of letting that it has a metallic hide and lights itself on fire just made me kind of love it. And thinking of it as a final stage poke with just a lot of angry monkey energy got me excited. The Ajarakan has a really interesting silhouette with all of its jutting out parts, which makes it look like some kind of tear in a metal hole, or mountains shooting up, and translated just really well into the Pokemon for making a unique silhouette. As that is a lot of the kind of work for a Pokemon in that initial view of it, making the silhouette look readable and good. I wanted a bit of that mandrill influence in here as well, keeping that bright coloration on the face that'll probably intensify when it activates its ability. Both it and another Pokemon, which I'm sure you can guess who it would share it with, is an ability called Ignite, where they gain benefits from absorbing fire type attacks. It'll probably get a special form where it's all glowy and red hot and extra angry. Monkey noises intensify. Ajarakan, the metal hide Pokemon, are fire and steel type. Ajarakan have steel bodies that adapt quickly to heat. Using their tail, they ignite their entire body, becoming even deadlier. They climb around environments with surprisingly deft speed. Despite their deadly nature, Cephaloil easily can defeat Ajarakan and will melt their hides and devour what's beneath. Ajarakan has a new ability called Ignition, where it absorbs fire type attacks, increasing the damage of their own fire type attacks and burning foes on contact for 3 turns. Before we go to the apex of the region, we need to take a romp down to the big oil fields and meet one of the creepiest creatures here. Yeah, more creepy than a metal fire ape in Cthulhu Disaster. This thing, the Rompopolo, it's like if you took a big bag of medical biohazard waste and just attached it to a featherless chicken. This thing is nasty, but oh boy did it make just the best Pokemon. Poison types always have that sort of look where they just have the vibe of like, I'm going to hurt you if you get close, but I'm pretty chill otherwise. So our Rompopolo Pokemon is very similar. It's sort of a body plan to the regular design. I like the uneven nature of their body, all blobule and puffy, so I kept it, especially in the head and body, with a face that gives those poison type vibes. This thing feels like a horror monster, but as if fighting it is going to have some real spooky music, and it's going to be able to sneak around under the oil and get you, I'm sure. I love the design I did here, but my god, I do not want to have it or ever see it in game. I just don't want to catch this thing. It's nasty like a spoiled raw chicken or something, yuck. Rompopolo, the poison sac Pokemon, are poison and dark type. Living in oil basins, Rompopolo are aggressive and territorial. Their body works like one large balloon holding all their toxic gases within. Its tongue and tail can spray toxic mist in a large area. While prey are weakened, it will use their front claws to rend that prey in two. Rompopolo have the abilities Merciless and Poison Touch. Next is the Satan of the oil fields itself, the new Udra. Our first ever cephalopod monster. What a crazy design this is. It's literally this glowing octopus covered in oil. It's slick, it's nasty, and I'm pretty sure I've seen some videos about this one on the dark internet way before its release. You're a star, new Udra! This one is another Apex Legendary design with sort of a ruinous quartet in mind. It's pretty complex, but I love the idea of making it this sort of trippy designed octopus dripping with a very similar pattern to that of a Alolan Muck. A lot darker, with those waves of color constantly shifting around. It's definitely one of the more bizarre Pokemon translations here, and is the most fitting for a Ruinous Quartet style Pokemon, I'd say. Typing was hard for this one, definitely fire type as it is literally the element it is known for, but the oil part of it was a bit loosey-goosey. I opted for dark type as Rompopolo also used that typing for it, and I guess in a way oil can be seen as a dark sort of thing. It can cause damage and makes fires go crazy. I'm feeling like some serious takoyaki after making this one though. Cephaloil, the oil well Pokemon, a fire and dark type. Cephaloil are the apex Pokemon of their environment, usually living in natural oil deposits covering themselves in the substance. Cephaloil are immune to fire, so they'll ignite the oil covering their body when battles get serious. Merely grabbing foes with their tentacles is enough to easily burn a foe to a crisp. Cephaloil also gets the new ability Ignition. The final one of the video is my favorite, just kind of not only in terms of the monster, but also in terms of the Pokemon I made for it. The design slaps in Monster Hunter, it does here as well. A flagship monster, the Arkveld. God, this thing is so cool. From the massive chain blades it uses to its general design, almost feeling Viking-esque in design, like some sort of armored invader. It is well deserving of being the flagship and this quickly rose to one of my favorite designs in the game I've seen so far. I wanted this to be kind of box legendary tier, a really menacing looking Pokemon in the vein of Kyurem Black or White. At the time of designing this, I only really had a few pictures of Arkveld to go off, so I tried my best to adapt it. The keywords here were heavily armored tank of a Pokemon, and also have those chains in some form. And I decided to give them only one chain on each side instead of the multiple almost chain-like tendrils going everywhere. I love the fact that this thing can literally absorb all the elements that hits it like it's nothing. Makes it feel so strong. So I gave it a similar thing here for the Pokemon's ability. Some sacrifices had to be made, however. With the dragon element, I did pick dragon type, and because of its nature to be a wraith and supposedly extinct, I chose ghost type, with your guys' help, especially with the guessing of what type it would be. So I kind of got rid of its ability to fly, so it's more like a big brutish wyvern now, but ah well. Also the tail's much more hidden under all that fur. As with the tail, I felt it would make the design too long and not feel as stocky if I included it. In the end, this is one of my favorite designs I've ever done, and I'll keep saying it. And I need an Arkveld statue or something or I'll never feel complete again. Arking, the chained Pokemon, a dragon and ghost type. Not much is known about Arking, where it came from and why it wreaks such havoc. Wherever it goes, trainers will try their hardest to capture Arking. No one has succeeded so far. Specialized muscles can expand and retract chain-like blades from their wings. Not only are they sharp, they act like an elemental lightning rod absorbing any elements. Arking has a new ability called Absorbing Chain, where it halves the damage of the first attack Arking is hit by when sent out and empowers their next physical attack. Whew, and that's all I have for now. I'm kind of recording this through both a thunderstorm and coming out of a sickness, so I'm sorry if the audio quality is a little goofy. As I delve deeper into Wilds, I'm sure I'll come out with more research in monsters to turn into Pokemon. Make sure to tell me if you see any in Wilds, even any endemic life that you think might be interesting. And also, what are your thoughts on Wilds so far? Comment down below and also tell me about the video. Make sure to like the video as well and share it around to other Pokemon and Monster Hunter fans, Pokemon Monster Hunters out there. It helps me a lot. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you next time.
I've only had Arlo for a day and a half, but if anything happened to him, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself.